Teen Wolf to this day still stands at the top of the list of my favorite TV shows. No matter how much I love or enjoy others like Vampire Diaries and Originals, I can't put none of them above Teen Wolf. My love/obsession for this show started all the way back when I was a kid, and that's also when I developed an obsession with werewolves, but we're not going to talk about that. For those who don't know, Teen Wolf is a teen drama about a normal high school student named Scott McCall, who gets bitten by a werewolf on the night of a full moon when he and his best friend Styles Dolinsky went out into the woods to find a dead body. When people are giving the show its flowers, they neglect to talk about how strong of an episode 1 of season 1 is. The way it was executed was beautiful, and episode 2 kept the same energy, and the show just kept getting better and better and better. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the absolute beast that was season 3. And I'm talking both part A and part B, with part B being my favorite of the two. The opening scene was amazing, straight heat, and the introduction to the Alpha Pack was superb, and the Alpha Twins, Ethan and Aiden fusing, you could tell that they were trying to up the ante. So essentially, there's a pack of Alphas who came to the town of Beacon Hills to recruit the relatively new Alpha, Derek Hale. To join this pack, Derek must kill his own betas, hence why Erica and Boyd were captured. And along with the arrival of the Alpha Pack came a mysterious figure who was going around killing people. And while pursuing Derek, Deucalion, the leader of the Alpha Pack, notices another werewolf, Scott, that has the potential to become an alpha, but on his own terms, which is what they call a true alpha. Okay, so episode 1. One thing Teen Wolf has proven it's good at time and time again is comedy. From Scott getting a tattoo to him and Styles randomly encountering Lydia and Allison at the stoplight. It's hilarious. So at the hospital, when Isaac and Brayden were being brought in and she says she needs to talk to the alpha, and Melissa asks, "What do you want with Derek Hale?" and she says, "No, not Hale, McCall, Scott McCall." Then for a second we saw Scott with red eyes. That was so cold. That was a good way to tease him becoming an alpha. When Jennifer was introduced as the new English teacher, I did not suspect that she would be the antagonist of the season, but I do think she's one of the show's better villains. I love the mystery aspect of this season, the deer running into Lydia's car, the flock of birds flying into the classroom killing themselves, and Styles trying to figure it out. It kinda gives me Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Grimm vibes. And I honestly feel bad for Sheriff Stilinski, because he doesn't have the foggiest idea of what the hell is going on, and it must be frustrating not being able to solve any of the crimes in this town. And that's probably because most of the crime that takes place in this town has supernatural ties, the hailfire, the animal attacks in season 1 and season 2, and now human sacrifices. But then again, even if he did know about the supernatural, he still wouldn't be able to do anything about it. I think the way the Alpha Pack was introduced was done really well. The twins made a really good first impression with their transformation in the first part of the first episode. Cully impersonating a nurse and giving Isaac an anesthetic to knock him out so they could kidnap him. I love how they slowly revealed that she's a werewolf and a part of the Alpha Pack. Ennis is just the muscle of the group, kinda forgettable. But the icing on the cake was how they introduced Deucalion as a normal blind man and had him interact with Scott before he knew that Deucalion was the leader of the Alpha Pack. That was great. Derek is one of, if not the best written character. When we first met him, he was a man who distanced himself from people, used them, and was filled with fear, misery, and regret. And you could tell that something inside of him was broken. Then you watched as he slowly became kinder, dependable, and trustworthy. And I don't think he would have changed if he hadn't met Scott. He went from being miserable and angry to being wholesome. And low-key, Derek was out here protecting Scott. Not telling him about the Alphas was such a smart move, because if Scott knew about them, he wouldn't have spent so much time focusing on bettering himself as a student. The scene where Scott is explaining why he wanted a tattoo is such a good scene. Having the tattoo be a reward for not calling or texting Allison and him still feeling hurt for doing so, and with the tattoo meaning open wound, that is so good. Chef's kiss. Episode 2. There are some things in this show that I will never understand, one of which is how the hell does Deucalion know that Derek is an alpha? How would he know? How would he know? Seriously, it's a genuine question. I think they did a really good job setting up the villain for this season. The way that The Rock takes people is so mysterious and cool, and I find the reveal of why she takes them to be very interesting. Depending on what the person is, when she kills them, she gains their powers. Like if she kills a doctor, she gains the ability to heal quicker. This season doesn't waste time giving you lore, even though it's not a lot. In the very first scene of episode 1, you are told that werewolves can use their claws to steal memories, and in episode 2, you are then shown how werewolves are able to see other people's memories. You are also shown that werewolves can feel or sense emotions of others, like when the deer ran into Lydia's car and Scott was able to tell that it was scared. In the scene where Lydia and Allison are showing Derek the bruise on their arms and he's stating how untrustworthy they are, I mean, it kinda makes a good argument, but it's not really their fault. Lydia was being controlled by Peter from beyond the grave. Don't ask me how that works, cause I don't know. And Allison was being manipulated by her grandfather. She was unknowingly becoming the second Kate. Sometimes I do think that the writers of the show have this competition where they try to see who they can make funnier between Styles and Coach. Druids are one of the most fascinating creatures in this series, and the writers refuse to dive any deeper into them, besides the little we got from Deaton. Season 3 is like the only season where druids are tied into the story, so they should have used this time to explore them. And although Deaton is a druid, some of the things he does is less supernatural and more psychological, like when they needed Isaac to remember what he saw, and Deaton had him held down in a tub of ice cold water by Scott and Derek so they could slow his heart rate down to the point of near death. So, according to Teen Wolf, in order for a werewolf to not go crazy on a full moon, they need to be somewhere that completely blocks out moonlight. Because in episode 2 of season 3, Peter states that because they are in a bank vault and the kind of stone it is made out of scatters moonlight, Boyd and Erica have not felt the moonlight in months. So that leads me to believe that in order for a werewolf to turn on a full moon, they need to come in contact with direct moonlight. And that would be fine. But in season 2, when Derek had Boyd, Erica, and Isaac in the subway, they turned and lost control despite there being no moonlight down there. It can only be one or the other. And due to the fact that this is the only time I think that this comes up, I have to go with moonlight doesn't matter. You'll turn either way. Allison releasing the werewolves, then coming at Derek like it is his fault, saying that she's not the one turning teenagers into killers, is so funny to me, because this is not Derek's fault. Yes, Derek turned Boyd and Erica into werewolves, but he tried to teach them. He literally tried to teach them, but they wanted to leave and he respected their decision. This is not his fault. Episode 3. I think that the fireflies in episode 3 mean two things. One, that Jennifer is influencing how animals behave because, as Chris explains, that the fireflies that glow aren't normally in Beacon Hills. And two, the fireflies are foreshadowing the Nagitsune. I think that Lydia's first outing as a banshee was well done. Banshees scream when someone is about to die. So when Lydia was at home and suddenly starts screaming, someone just died. And when she went out to get more pills and unknowingly goes to the scene of the crime, well done. When Styles told Scott that they found a dead body, them jumping to conclusions saying that it's either Boyd or Cora is understandable considering that they don't know about Jennifer. But Scott saying that it's their fault that someone died is not true. So not true. It's Allison's fault. She understandably broke the mountain ash seal freeing them, but despite her doing it for what we consider a good reason, she did release two bloodthirsty, out of control werewolves on an entire town. I found it interesting how both Chris and Allison are motivated by the death of their family members. Chris, on one hand, doesn't want to be involved with the supernatural anymore because he lost so many people to it, while Allison is motivated to protect people because of the people she lost to the supernatural, and she eventually convinces her father to join her. When Chris is teaching them how to hunt and trap Boyd and Cora, he gives us a good amount of information on werewolves. When they're in this out of control state, their human side is suppressed but subconsciously reminding them how to mask their scent, cover their tracks, and survive. And while wolves hunt for food and can get full, werewolves hunt for the pleasure of the kill, for some primal, apex predator satisfaction that comes from ripping warm bodies to bloody shreds, and it isn't known if this can be satiated or satisfied. I think ultrasonic emitters are a smart invention, but besides using it to drive werewolves in the direction you want them, so you can trap them, they could be used to torture or for interrogations. And I like that they use them later in the season, but it would be nice if they had used them like throughout the entire series. I love this scene with Peter and Derek because this conversation tells you what kind of person they are without outright saying it. What I get from this is that Peter doesn't want Derek to involve himself any further and let Scott handle it because he doesn't want Derek to be in the position where he'd have to kill Cora, which is what Deucalion wants. Peter says, let's throw a reunion party when she's not an unstoppable killing machine, which tells me that Peter wants to see Cora tomorrow, when she'd be back to normal. But for that to happen, she'll have to go and kill a few innocent people first. And then Derek asks if he should be okay with innocent people dying, and Peter responds with, unless you're okay with killing your own, which further convinces me that he doesn't want Derek to participate in this situation, and Derek responds with, I can catch them. And then Peter just doubles down on innocent people dying, which just shows you how little he cares about life. And it feels like Peter is always up to something for some reason. I like that on one hand we got Scott and friends trying to stop two rabid werewolves, and on the other we got Styles figuring out the murders. Derek being so adamant about saving Boyd and Cora shows how much he has grown as a character, because back in season 2, Derek almost killed Lydia and Jackson, and now he's putting his life on the line to save Boyd and Cora. And yes, he would save his sister even if he hadn't developed, but deciding to save Boyd and him being visibly sad when he found Erica's dead body shows that Derek has developed as a character. When Coach's class is going on a run through the forest and Isaac runs after the twins, I want to know what the hell he thought he was gonna do. I don't think he needs to be reminded about the last time he crossed paths with the Alpha Pack, considering he almost died. But Isaac being Isaac, chased after them and got ambushed, and if Scott wasn't there, and if the person didn't scream, well, he'd be dead or severely injured. And it's the fact that he just recovered and you're picking a fight so soon? I find it funny that Scott doesn't believe that someone could be going around sacrificing people when he has literally dealt with a psychotic werewolf that killed people and a psychotic teenage boy who used a failed werewolf, which is known as a kanama, to kill people. And it's in this scene Styles delivers one of my favorite lines of the season. Scott, your eyes turn into yellow glow sticks, hair literally grows from your cheeks and will immediately disappear, and if I were to stab you right now, it would just magically heal, but you're telling me that you're having trouble grasping human sacrifices? And what is wrong with everyone thinking that they can just take on the Alpha Pack? First it's Isaac, and now it's Cora talking about, are you going to help me go after them? And I want to know who is gossiping, because what do you mean you heard rumors? Who could possibly be spreading rumors that Derek is an alpha now? This is one of my favorite scenes in the season, when the Alpha Pack confronts Derek and Cora. A lot of fans say they don't like Deucalion because he's a fraud, and I do get that, because they do hype this man up like so much it was crazy. I was expecting something like Klaus Michelson, but no such thing. No such thing. He got packed up at episode 12 and got killed off later on in the series. But I do love his speeches though. Love them. I quote them daily. Now, in the first fight between Derek and Kali, I know it looks cool for her to be fighting with a steel pipe, but come on man, they are werewolves, and it only feels like they had her fight with the pipe so she could put Derek in a position where he can't move, which is by impaling him. I seriously don't know why they had to waste the Killian. Bro, the way he moves, the things he say, and the way he says them just makes him a good villain, and it's such a pity. With his alpha of alpha speech, they made the Killian come off as an otherworldly being with power beyond your comprehension, and an outright terrifying character, especially with the thunder and lightning, and his glasses cracking, and him saying, "Hate it when that happens." What a waste! I do like that the twins aren't just physically fighting Scott and friends, they're also messing with Isaac mentally and provoking a response out of him. Having one of the twins beat the other up just to get Isaac in trouble is so creative. And Isaac is the prime example of just because you're a werewolf doesn't mean you don't have trauma anymore. It can heal sicknesses and it can make you superhuman, but it can't wash away trauma. To be honest, people with mental illnesses shouldn't be turned into werewolves. As Styles said, you gave superpowers to a walking time bomb. Isaac and Allison are trapped in a storeroom, and Isaac is losing it because his father used to lock him in the freezer for an undisclosed amount of time. And I don't know how long his father has been doing it, and that causes him to start freaking out, and he almost killed Allison. Allison, Scott, and Isaac giving the twins a taste of their own medicine is so funny to me, and watching them mess with each other in these normal ways is really good. It shows that they are capable of more than just fighting. I love how the writers are just teasing the reveal of the Nematon through Lydia, and I don't think you understand how much of a banger that The Rock's theme is. One of the things that makes Jennifer so interesting to me is that it is really hard to figure out who her victims are going to be because there's too much people that fit her criteria. For example, she would want a philosopher, but instead of going after a teacher, she goes after a police officer because he or she was a teacher long before becoming a police officer. And back to the Kalian, the way the twins just stand at attention with the mere sight of this man just shows you how threatening he is. And I don't know why Mr. Harris just knows things and is always involved with someone's revenge plot. First it's Kate and now it's Jennifer. Episode 5 has to be one of my favorites of the season. I like that we're watching the aftermath of an event we didn't see, and as the episode progresses, we get more and more information on what happened. We get a glimpse of what happened when Scott zoned out, and the first time I watched this episode, I thought he had a bad dream and was out of it. Then later finding out that he's haunted by what happened and they confronted the Alpha Pack, that was crazy good. And Scott suffering from a wound he's not healing from because he thinks Derek is dead is another piece of lore, like it shows you that you can actually stop yourself from healing. Scott subtly telling Allison that she shouldn't get involved with the Alpha Pack is a treat of a scene, because Allison believes that she can take on a werewolf one-on-one, talking about she can handle Scott, when in fact she cannot, and Scott had to put her in her place because she would have gotten herself killed, honestly speaking. Most of the action of Season 3A is spread throughout the season, so you're mostly watching teenagers do teenager things, and because Teen Wolf's characters are so entertaining, watching them interact with each other is very engaging, so the low amount of action doesn't really bring down the series. So we're in the flashback, right? Peter, Derek, Cora, and Boyd are planning on attacking the Alpha Pack first, and Scott is talking about how murder is always the go-to, and they should find another way. And I can understand where he's coming from, but in the situations you and your friends find yourselves in are always kill or be killed situations. And this is why most people don't really like Scott. He's always morally correct, and on top of that, he doesn't develop as a character. But that's not what we're talking about. It's not realistic, and even if you wanted Scott to be morally correct, you could sprinkle a little struggle in there, which makes it better. Scott only threatens to kill someone once, and I can't even take that seriously, and people only scrutinize him because he makes it the focal point of his character. One thing that irks me even more is that he always says, "Oh, no killing," but he never provides another way. It's always someone else who has to come up with the plans, mainly Styles. about how we're gonna stop this foe. Only a couple times in the series, he actually comes up with a plan of his own, but most times it's Styles. And how did the Alpha Pack get resolved? How did they get resolved? Jennifer had to kill them. The only reason why the twins survived was because of Lydia and Cora. And how did the Kalian? The only reason why they even stopped the killing was because his whole philosophy shattered right in front of his eyes when he saw Scott become an alpha of his own power, of his own strength, of his character. Funny how Chris wants to live a normal life and stay in Beacon Hills. Because you can't live in Beacon Hills and have a normal life, especially when things like the Nagitsune, Dread Doctors, Beasts of Jevodan, and the Ghost Riders are gonna make their appearances in due time. I'm on Allison's side with this one. I mean, how could I stay out of it when my friends are out there risking their lives and I can actually do something about it? Derek supposedly dying, then popping up at the end of the episode is something I find distasteful because they do this one other time in season 4, then killed him off in the movie. Also, Derek going to Jennifer is a bit weird to me considering he doesn't even know her that well, but I guess it's fine. This is the closest we get to experiencing something like a haunted motel, and I find it interesting that there's a place where people go to kill themselves. We first see this happen when Alexander Argent, who was bitten by the Kalian I believe, goes there to kill himself, and there are many more. Almost immediately upon arrival, all the werewolves began acting strange, and at the end of the episode, we learn that werewolves have a kind of mental fortitude, so in order for the Rock to mess with their minds, she needed them to be inhaling wolfsbane to weaken them. So Lydia is able to hear the last moments leading up to 2 people committing suicide, and when she tells Allison about it, Allison says, "I believe you after all we've been through," and I was like, yes, because there are characters out there that witness something supernatural and be like, oh, the supernatural exists, okay, but then something else happens that's supernatural, and all of a sudden it's, nah, I don't believe that, that's not possible. At the abandoned mall where Derek and friends were fighting the Alpha Pack, Chris is now walking around looking at the place and is able to put together what happened. And I'm gonna be honest, Chris being loosely involved in the story is kinda lame. It makes sense for his character, yes, but I honestly think he's better when he's more involved in the story like in other seasons. The Jennifer and Derek romance isn't bad, but I think we should have gotten more scenes with them together before we got the scene with him going to her in the school parking lot. Anything they try to do with Boyd doesn't really work because Boyd is barely even a character. At the motel, they were trying to give him some kind of backstory where he got separated from someone and never saw them again, which would be a step in the right direction, but I feel like this was only implemented so that we would feel something when he gets killed a couple episodes later. I didn't feel anything. Jennifer and Derek making out is a good scene because it gives us a little peek inside Derek's head. Him saying that Jennifer shouldn't be here because she doesn't know him and everyone around him gets hurt, and she responding with, "I've been hurt before." I like that, but it would have more emotional weight if they had more scenes together prior to this one. I love all the scenes with Styles and Lydia, especially when they're trying to figure something out or when they're brainstorming ideas. And I love how Scott was trying to blow himself up with the school bus and it wasn't Allison who talked him out of it, it was Styles. That was a really good subversion of expectation, and it shows and strengthens the brotherly bond between them. Gerarian should have died at the end of season 2. I seriously don't know why they kept him alive. Teen Wolf and their cool concepts. First seen in episode 7, Scott brings his mother food and he heals a patient through physical touch, which is cool. Then after that, moths fly out of the car's air conditioning vent, and when they disappeared, so was the doctor. That was such a cool concept. No one can convince me that Kali and Ennis were dating, and you cannot convince me that she was mad when he died. I want to know the history behind Deaton and Morel, because they don't act like siblings. Kali threatened to kill Morel and Deaton was like, okay. And Deaton got kidnapped and Morel doesn't even look like she cares. And when Styles said, "You don't have to ask us for help," and she replies with, "I'm actually trying to help you." Bro, what? Lydia being a banshee is kind of woven into the plot and I like it, but I think they should have given us more as it relates to banshees since not much is known about them. Lydia making out with Aiden in Coach's office and being interrupted by Cora is so funny to me, because imagine if we had an episode that focuses mostly on Lydia as she tries to enjoy her high school life but is constantly being dragged away by her friends to solve some kind of supernatural mystery. When Scott was trying to save Deaton, he couldn't cross the mountain ash. So I was wondering, why didn't he use like an object to break the circle instead of trying to force himself through? The fight between Kali and Derek, you can tell that Kali is just toying with him. During the course of the fight, Derek is taking most of the hits, and when the electricity came on, Derek went down and Kali just walked it off. And the twins were able to hold Derek in place as Kali impaled Boyd on Derek's claws, killing him. So the longer you've been a werewolf, the stronger you are. Your body and your status also factor. Although Derek and Kali are both alphas, Kali killed her betas, absorbing their power, and she's been a werewolf longer than Derek. In the case of two betas, Scott has been a werewolf longer than Isaac, and they both have the same body types, so Scott would be stronger. But in the case of Scott and Boyd, although both are the same status, and Scott has been a werewolf longer than Boyd, Boyd is more muscular, which would make him stronger. Episode 8, the flashback episode, where we get to see a younger Derek and a younger Peter, and get a glimpse into what their life was like a couple years ago. The back and forth of the past and present was neatly done, and Peter and Gerard being unreliable narrators was a good choice. Derek as a teenager is so different from Derek as an adult, and I like how basketball is his thing and not lacrosse. His first interaction with Paige is so rich in humor, and they actually feel like actual teenagers, which is funny to me because some of the teen dramas that have came out in like the past couple years have very cringe dialogue for teenagers. Peter saying that he was Derek's best friend, which is how he knows stuff about Derek, only for the flashback to show him lurking and peeping on Derek, is so funny. And we need to bring back good werewolf shows. I need werewolf politics, man. Seeing all the alphas congregating and discussing how to deal with the hunters got me feeling for more. Peter is so manipulative. He put the idea of turning Paige into Derek's head in such a way to bother him and make him think about it, and then convinces him to do it. But you see, I don't understand why he's doing it. Like, what does he gain from this? I like the concept that the bite from an alpha werewolf can kill you or turn you, because it allows the world to not be overpopulated with werewolves, and it also provides tension and a sense of worry because we can't tell whether they'll turn or die. But then again, the only person who dies is Paige, and she's an already dead character from the past. Everybody else gets turned successfully. Does Derek have to go through so much emotional turmoil as a 15-year-old boy? Imagine your girlfriend dying in your arms, confessing that she loves you and asking you to put her out of her misery, only to then a few years later meet Kate, who also you fall in love with, and then she uses you to murder your family and family friends. And on top of that, years later, you meet another woman and she turns out to be a murderous druid. Damn. I don't really have much to say about episode 9, but there's something that I've noticed, and this episode just hammers it in. The writers of Teen Wolf kinda suck at writing romance for anyone who isn't Scott, and they suck at displaying friendships or other relationships. Cora and Boyd were close. That was not conveyed at any point throughout the entire season. They didn't even speak to each other. And I'm supposed to believe that she is sad about his death to the point of wanting revenge, and she goes after Aiden. No. When Styles was trying to explain the supernatural to his father, I understand that you want to ease him into it, but he's not gonna believe you. I think it's best if he had Cora just turn right in front of him from the start. That way he couldn't refuse to believe since he's seeing it. And speaking of Cora, I have no idea when Jennifer poisoned her. No idea. I don't think they even shared a scene together. Jennifer expecting Derek to believe her over Scott and Styles is stupid. The writers are taking shortcuts with them. They have not known each other long, and they don't know each other well enough for a scene like this to work. if Derek met her in like season 2 and they've got to know each other over the course of 12 episodes, and that would obviously continue into season 3 all the way up to the reveal, then yes, a scene like this could in fact work. So in the scene where they're brainstorming a plan to get out of the hospital, even though I wanted to see Derek and Scott take on the twins, Scott and Peter is fine, but I preferred Scott and Derek taking on the twins. But then I don't like the fight though. I don't like the fight. It mainly consists of pushing and throwing. Some slashing and punching would have been nice. When the writers were crafting Jennifer, they struck gold. I mean, from character motivation to backstory to performance, everything was on point. Jennifer telling Derek about her past and how they're intertwined was such a good scene. And when she started talking about mistletoe, I thought she was going to explain exactly what the herb is for druids, but she gave such a beautiful monologue about how mistletoe was being overlooked, which led to Loki killing Balder. That is such good writing. Then it's revealed by Derek that during the lunar eclipse all werewolves lose their power, and the fact that that was a part of her plan makes her even better as a character. To plan posing as a teacher, meeting Derek, kidnapping and sacrificing people for power, and then killing the Alpha Pack on the night of the lunar eclipse is just such, man, chef's kiss. I don't think she meant to meet Derek the way that she did. I think that was pure coincidence, and I don't think she planned to poison Cora. I think that was a on-the-fly decision to keep Derek with her. When Peter was moving Cora out of the ambulance to Chris's car and Styles saw the form on the door saying parent or guardian, I immediately remembered that guardian doesn't have to mean police or soldier, it could mean parent. The concept of the fivefold knot is so good, like it's hard to figure out who is going to be the next victim or which section the victim falls in. So Scott left with Deucalion and Jennifer took Melissa. While Chris, Allison and Styles are coming up with a plan, Derek is trying to figure out a way to save Cora, and Peter tells him about a sort of ritual he could do to save her, but in order to do that, he'll have to give up his alpha status. And I find that interesting. It got me thinking about what other kind of rituals are there in this universe. I wish they delved a little more deeper into the werewolf lore. I understand what Chris was going for when he handed himself over to Jennifer, but then again, I don't think that was a smart choice. They could have stalled by keeping Chris out of harm's way while trying to find Sheriff and Melissa. Chris handing himself over to her puts the ball in her court and gives her the advantage. Also, why is Deaton not involved more? He's a druid and she's a dark druid. Two sides of the same coin. His insight could have probably prevented a lot of death. I like the way Styles figures out where the parents are. The tree Lydia keeps drawing is actually the Nematon if you flip it upside down. So Agent McCall is talking to Styles trying to get info out of him, but Styles isn't telling him anything. And Agent McCall says he doesn't want Styles going home alone. Then Deaton just appears. Like when the story needs him, he appears. And like, where have you been, bro? People have been dying, where have you been? So the Alpha Pack has been hunting down Morel, and they finally caught up to her, and she surrounds herself with Mountain Ash. And Deucalion, Kali, and Morel throw some dialogue around, and Deucalion throws his cane and hits her in her shoulder, and for some reason, her foot was outside of the circle, and upon falling, she drags her foot back, breaking the circle. But she was standing in the middle, so I don't know when she moved and put her foot outside the circle, which is stupid. I think the writers probably wrote themselves in a corner and didn't know how to get the circle broken, so Morel, who is trying to protect herself, puts one foot outside the protective barrier. I don't understand how the sacrifice thing works, because all they did was drown Styles, Allison, and Scott. It wasn't like a ritual or anything. And what even counts as a sacrifice? Do you have to have it in mind when you are killing someone? And how does sacrificing someone gives power back to the Nematon? And does that mean Jennifer does something different when she kills people than because she would be giving power back to the Nematon when she kills? You know what? Okay. So Scott, Styles, and Allison are getting sacrificed, and even though I don't understand the whole sacrifice thing, it was a good sequence to see. I like that they were in the water for hours. That was a good way to speed time up so they didn't have to put unnecessary scenes in. Jennifer having the ability to control weather isn't surprising. But writers, how broken do you want this character to be? And because I don't know how her powers work, I have no clue how she can summon a storm, use telekinesis, take down 3 alphas, but for some reason couldn't take on Deucalion by herself. She needed Derek and the lunar eclipse. At Derek's loft, Jennifer's entrance was so cold, and the way she took down the alphas was pretty good. I wanted the fights to last longer, but I can't even really call it a fight. She barely fought. It was more like a display of power than a fight scene. The Distillery. The final confrontation. 11 episodes of build-up. All led to this. And to be honest, I'm on the fence about it. I mean, I like Deucalion's monologue before he fights, but it was over so quickly. I get that the little display of power was to show how wide the gap of power is between him and them, but he could have done more. I like that Deucalion tries to force Scott to kill Jennifer, but because of how they decided to write Scott, you know he's not gonna kill anyone, which is what makes him frustrating. Scott is perfect when it comes to not killing people. He is never faced with a difficult decision where he has to even consider killing someone. The character would be a lot more interesting if he at least struggled with it once. Scott breaking through the barrier and becoming an alpha will always be cool. Derek giving up his power, knowing he'll be at a disadvantage against Kali, shows the growth in his character. And Peter has just been hanging around, almost staying completely out of the conflict. And to be honest, I can't even tell if Peter actually cares about Cora or Derek. If I could make like one tweak of this part of the season, Deucalion would still get hyped as the Demon Wolf from episode 1 to 11, and then in episode 12, him and Jennifer would just go out on an all-out fight. Like Deucalion is going crazy with his speed and strength, and Jennifer is pulling out all of her abilities, and it was just going to be an intense, bloody ass fight. And then it could end with Jennifer killing Deucalion. And now that she has completed her goal, her task, like what she set out to do all those years ago, she would either go on a redemption arc or something like that, or she would have succumbed from the injuries from the fight and die. And Derek would have buried her. That's just what I think they should have done, kinda. And that officially brings us to the end of the 12 episodes. And now the character section. In this section of the video is just me talking about what I think of each character in the season. Scott isn't as interesting as the series wants him to be. He's blandly moral and doesn't really have to deal with making difficult choices, but him trying to be a better student was nice to see. Styles is the king of comedy and comedic timing, and he works well with every character he's paired with. Also, he's more interesting than Scott. Boyd is not a character. He's barely involved in the story. He pops up here and there and then dies. Derek is hands down one of, if not the best character. I love the scene where he gives up his alpha status to save his sister and says that he doesn't care about power. That shows growth. Allison is fine. I like her, but I think she had better storylines in the previous seasons. Lydia's debut as a Banshee was amazing, and the slow discovery of her powers and what she is was such a good subplot. Lydia is also very fun in this season. She's more comedic and makes a really good duo with Styles. Peter, occasionally funny. Love the episode where he tells the story of Derek and Paige as an unreliable narrator. That's it. Chris wanting a normal life is understandable, but it's boring. Chris is at his best when he's an active hunter. Melissa is entertaining as always, but there's not much to say. Sheriff Stilinski, same as Melissa. He's entertaining, but there's not much to say. Deaton, he's the same as always, which isn't a bad thing. He does this mysterious know-it-all guy really well, but he's underutilized as a druid. Cora could have been a great character, but she was underutilized. Morel left as quick as she came. She did what she needed to do and left. Loved her. Isaac is a bit better than Boyd, but not by much. He's just mostly here for comedic scenes or when he needs to do something badass. Isaac is suffering from trauma. There have been situations where he has an episode and they just brush over it. No one tries to help him get over it. I thought that they would use Melissa, who is a mother, to try and be the guiding force he needs and help him overcome his trauma, but no. They could have used Allison. They had a romance subplot in, part B of season 3 that came out of nowhere. They could have used that as a way of getting him over it, or even let him confide in Scott, who is the man he looks up to. But no. Then in part B of season 3, Isaac is no longer traumatized. It doesn't even come up, it doesn't get resolved, he's just fine now. This part is the villain section of the video. I think Jennifer should have been given a redemption arc. She had so much potential as a character. The fact that she did what she did out of revenge for her people is so beautiful. Being overlooked by the alphas because emissaries are just used for their knowledge and can be cast aside at any moment is such strong ground for her to stand on, meaning her motives make sense. So many of Teen Wolf's villains are just evil for the sake of being evil, and Jennifer gives us a breath of fresh air. With her intelligence, her ability to act, her motivations, knowledge on supernaturals and herbs, and her display of power. She describes herself for what she's doing as a necessary evil. I like that she stands on that, and her saying that tells me that she knows that what she's doing is in fact evil. But in order to wipe out the Alpha Pack, she needs power that she gains from her victims to kill them. And her speech to Derek in the elevator shows that she wants to kill the person who tried to kill her, which is Kali. And she wants to kill the Kalian to get rid of his poisonous ideology about killing your betas. You could argue with me all you want about me wanting her to get a redemption arc, but please bear in mind that the writers tried to redeem Peter, a character that is evil, selfish, and outright despicable. Ennis, kinda forgettable, barely a character. Ethan and Aiden, they're fine, they did what they were supposed to do and got packed up by Jennifer. Love the fusion thing. I love Kali. I think she's the best out of the Alpha Pack. She makes her threats and then she jumps you. That's all I gotta say. Deucalion. How he was handled makes me mad. Built up to be as fearsome as a plague, but falls short when it comes to actually delivering on that build up. Love his speeches, he's still one of my faves. The Alpha Pack was appropriately hyped, loved their entrance and their demise, well except for Deucalion. Jennifer was the best part of the season. I wish you gotten more of her and learned more about the druids and the Rock. The cast was great as usual. Everyone gave memorable performances. I think that the action being spread across the season was good, so good. I like that they were able to balance it with other scenes. With all the flaws that comes with this part of the season, I still love it and think it's the best season and one of the more entertaining seasons. If you've made it to the end of the video, I really do appreciate it. Teen Wolf has always had a special place in my heart, and I don't think any other TV show or movie could replace it. Going through the season and making this video was really fun. I enjoyed the hell out of it, and I may do a part 2. I hope you enjoyed the video. I would love to hear your opinions on this season of Teen Wolf. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one.